Many of you know Pepón Osorio as a fantastic and beloved artist. He is also a professor of community art at the Tyler School of Art and Architecture and a longtime friend and colleague and beloved associate of El Museo del Barrio. So passing it over to you, Pepon. Thank you again, everyone.
Hi, everyone. Can you see me? I'm not sure.
We can hear you. We can hear you. We can't see you yet.
Oh, okay.
Oh, we can see you.
There I am. Hi. I will be quick because I know I'm competing with everyone's dinner. So I'm just going to move right into it. I just wanted to thank El Museo for the invitation. And it's very curious that as El Museo is digging into their collection, I am also excavating into my archives. And I thought it was proper to look into few videos, and because I was curious about where I've been and trying to revisit the urgencies of those early days. So that's what brought me into looking into the archives. And guess what? What I pulled out, which is Con todos los hierros, which was an exhibition in the early 90s at el Museo del Barrio. So I mostly will talk about that and a couple of other things, but I just wanted to start saying that I became an artist in residence for el Museo del Barrio in the late 80s at the invitation of el Museo director back then, Petra Barrera. Toward the end of the residency, Susana Torroya Leval, the then curator, began a dialogue about a possible retrospective of my work, which of course freaked me out. I come from a generation of people that save the best jokes for the wake, so bear with me. And I totally freaked out because I thought that something had happened to me, and Susana knew something about it that I didn't know, because usually I always equated retrospective with the end of the career. And this was really, really the beginning of my career. At that time, my practice was in an intersection of experimental performance and visual arts. It is obvious that the theatricalization in my work comes from many years of collaborating with Merian Soto and my background as a caseworker in the Bureau of Child Welfare. Wanted to show you a little bit of the exhibition that began with this idea. I have to give me 1 second. What did I do with it? I have to share. There you go. Share the screen. There you go. Can you see it?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. It's all kinds of things. But what I really wanted to do with this exhibition, after a while, I just began to think that there were two parallel equations that were going at the same time. I was reluctant to the invitation because for 5 years I had been under the radar when it comes to exhibitions. I had a bad encounter at a mainstream museum with what I think was the artist Christian Boltanski. And the work on view, it was at MoMA. And that led me to decline exhibition invitations, and I was very much removed from the exhibition space to the point that I was not even included in the decade show. I just wanted to show you, also because I thought that the retrospective will be put an end to my record, and I was still figuring it out, my practice. There were two things that helped me to accept the invitation opportunity. For Latinx, it was rare to have an exhibition at that time. And this exhibition became for me like kind of a time capsule. And so I thought under those circumstances, I was gonna do it. But I come from a working class, and my experience still up until today, it's one of unease with museums and exhibitions. So what I've asked Susana Torruella was to allow me to transform the museum into a space that it was hospitable, into a space of neutral ground. And so when you come into the exhibition at the very, very beginning, you see this a song, this popular song, Plena, by Joselino Oppenheimer, who was a Puerto Rican, that said, so much vanity, so much hypocrisy. After all, your work, your body after death belongs to the cold grave. And so that in contradiction with the work, but also at the same time, looking at the work and reminding ourselves of this. I'm just going to show you what the installation. So this was at the very entrance door of the old museum. You open the door and you enter into the exhibition. I was very curious. Let me see if I can move forward. Oh, don't tell me the same thing happened. Ah, I hate this. Same thing happened that happened before. Oh no, here it is. Okay. Sorry about that. There you go. And so a lot of the elements of the pieces that were there, this exhibition actually compiles mostly theatrical sets that were done in collaboration with Median. They were the first time shown at el Museo del Barrio, and it was some sort of a retrospective of all this work that that came about. On those trees, what you see, it's a diary. I started to write about continuously on these diaries every time I went to the studio, and each leaf has a word that, if you look at it, it's a composition of my diary all put together. The chandelier was also used in another installation, I mean, in another set for the work, and so was the sofa. I was interested in actually using the performance space, the theatrical theater space, as a ground for installations. Let me stop sharing, and I'm just going to move on to the next. I was told that I need to share again. Okay, there you go. Share. So the grounds for this exhibition I've asked for, retrospective about Susana, that I wanted the entire museum staff to work and come together as a way not only to understand the retrospective conceptually, but also hands-on. And so a lot of people from El Museo came in and participated in the project, and everyone had a specific everyone had a very specific instruction. There you go, that's Susana, that's Median Soto. And I don't have a photograph, I mean, a video of people from the community that also came. I am interested in using people's expertise into the process. So a lot of people came who were florists and also carpenters and a few other things. As a curator, Susana Leval had a way of compromising and discuss every single aspect of the exhibition. Designer decisions were always a happy medium. Mirroring Susana's way of curating was the only way to approach this exhibition. We involve every staff member and offer the opportunity to understand the work, not only conceptually, as I said before, but hands-on. And I'm just going to move on to the next one. This is quite a wonderful thing, because I don't do floor plans. I don't do maquettes for the exhibition. So we were working on the site, and this very specific piece, El Velorio, which is interestingly enough inspired somehow by Francisco Oyer that was mentioned earlier, it was a piece that recreated a funeral home, and it had to do with AIDS in the Latino community right there in El Barrio. And I was mostly curious as to one day seeing, healthy people walking around the streets, and within a month seeing their body decaying, and I became very, very worried about that. So the installation was basically a recreation of a funeral home with many caskets, and you will see later. And it was created by the staff at the Museo del Barrio together with members of the community. Wanted to show you the piece. Oh, I have to log out and log back in. Sorry about that. Back in, share. There you go. So this is just going to give you a sort of like an overview of the installation after it was completed. And I'm going to hurry up a little bit and show you. There you go. Body bags, flower arrangements made by members of the community, the floor. Susanna mentioned that my work is unconventional, and she also talks a little bit about the unusual aspects of the installation. I am interested in creating spaces that are somehow redundant and obvious in the community. And I'm interested in creating those places, obviously altering those spaces as a way of reflecting, as a way of contemplating life outside of its natural environment. And when placed in the museum, it's some sort of like a landscape of memory, of interpretations and ways that they've seen it before. I'm just gonna stop this. I think you probably got a good sense of the of that. I have to stop sharing. I have to share again. And I'm going to show you the last of what I mean by unconventionality. These are the, so you can possibly imagine what it's like to go into a funeral home, which I went to many of them, and begin to convince that I'm an artist and that I was making a piece about a funeral home. And that was very challenging. And at the same time, that it was very rewarding because I finally convinced the guys to come over. And so here it is in front of the museum, and they bring in the caskets in, and the community is witnessing caskets being brought brought in into the museum. So there was this kind of a conflict because people were trying to wonder what was the place of this caskets in the context of a museum. And I think that I often am also interested in that, in finding the place for cultural expressions and cultural popular culture in the context of museum exhibitions. I often translate ideas, and those ideas, the process, the exhibition itself is a debris of the process. And all this imageries sometimes become a metaphor for the work that I wanted to do. My engagement with the Museo del Barrio was a training ground and a place where unconditional support was provided to me. And that experience allowed me to recontextualize the exhibition experience and continue to translate stories of real people in real circumstances. So you can imagine what this is all about. And I wanted to leave it here and